Welcome, folks. It's Wednesday, January 25th, 2023. This is the Policy Committee. We're in the boardroom right now. Let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So in the room, we have Val Warning, John Ritter, Bill Short, Leslie McBride, Susan Delaney, and Mandel. Michael, is there anyone else on the Zoom meeting?
Not at the moment.
Very good. Okay. So what we're going to do is take a close look at one of the policies that Dr. Short has pulled out, and we're going to dig into that a bit. We're going to try to get ourselves out of here in 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And then we're going to divide up the work somewhere near the end of the meeting so that we can have a bunch of meetings over the next 4, 5, or 6 months and go through all of the policies and give them a refreshed look, see if they need to be updated. So we're going to divide up the policies that we have right now, and let me just take a quick look at that.
So did you pick this particular policy to go over?
This was one that has been discussed in the past. We were awaiting our fields to be finished. They are nearing completion, and we anticipate the spring sports moving into summer to be a heavy use period of time, especially for our facilities for rentals.
Okay.
So with the turf fields, not only at the high school, but also over at Gateway Middle School, we wanted to adjust the fee schedule
Okay.
to reflect how important.
You said Gateway Middle School, you're talking about here or over at the?
Over at the middle school, yeah. Gateway Middle, yeah.
Okay.
All right, so I don't want to surprise anybody, but here's what I'd like to try to do. I'd like to, as the policy committee chair, I would like to serve on all of the subcommittees. So I'd like to take the 8 categories that we have here on board docs of the policies, assign them to each of the school board members as you see fit, and then serve you and help you bring those forward and offer any changes that we can work through over the next 4, 5, 6 months. So there are 8 categories. I'll just go through them. Local board procedures, programs, there's about 30 subtopics there. Pupils, 30 subtopics. Employees, 30 subtopics. Finances, 25 subtopics. Property, 17 subtopics. Operations, 21 subtopics. And community, 20 subtopics.
We don't have that, what you're reading, do we?
Well, it's on board docs. Those are the major categories.
100s, 200s, 300s, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so each one of us has some specialty in some of these areas. So what I'd like to do is have you just send me an email or give me a call and say, John, I'd like to take operation, I'd like to take finance, I'd like to take curriculum, whatever it is. First come, first serve, and then that'll be your du jour. And then I'll help you do anything that you need to do, as well as the administration here. And PSBA's come up with some policy updates. So all of that needs to be sprinkled into our negotiations and our deliberations over the next couple of months. Okay. But tonight, Bill's queued up for us the 700 series, which is, I'll turn it over to you, Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Before we do that, I also wanted to emphasize that this broad look view of all of our policies is pretty much essential. It's standard operating procedure. Every 7 to 10 years, we're tasked with looking at those policies holistically with the board, but also it's important to bring in our administrative staff. So if I can ask Mr. Ritter, once he's completed surveying our board for subtopics, we could then bring our administrative team in, because what I have found is, as a principal, you understand policies and procedures. However, you're not truly invested in the policy itself, knowing it.
Or what looks good on paper may not
Yes.
be good in actual
Yes.
reality.
So I think with our current new administrative team, principals, it would be a good opportunity for them to learn to join all of us and learn the nuances of policies and how they work.
Sure.
Make sense?
Treat them the same way that John's treating us and see which policies they'd like in on.
That's what I was going to suggest, yeah.
Dr. Singh, do you have any questions?
No, not at this point.
Very good. Okay, so we are ready for 7:07.
Yes.
And Don Hall has entered the meeting about 2 or 3 minutes ago.
Okay, previously we've had conversations about 707, use of school facilities, primarily our rental fee schedules. We knew at this point we would be truly examining and making recommendations to put on display for 30 days, updated fee schedule for our facilities. We know that our baseball and softball and auxiliary fields are being nearly completed. Winter weather is upon us. We were anticipating this, and sure enough, it's here. However, we anticipate them finishing those fields, I'd say, Dawn, late February,
That's
early
right.
March.
Yes, as soon as we get another break in the weather, we think
Yes.
we're gonna, at the end of it.
And then also with the facilities over at Gateway Middle School, we have an upgrade to not only the current gymnasium over there, new auxiliary gym, but also the football, soccer field, and track that will be part of the renovation over at Gateway Middle School. So now is the opportunity to truly examine our fee schedules and bring them up to date that corresponds with the type of facility we have, not only to protect our facilities, but also allow for some revenue to come in that can eventually be used to turf the field again after its 15-year existence. So this money could be earmarked for replacement of a number of different items related to the fields.
Had it been 15 years, basically, since they'd been turfed before? Well, they weren't turfed at
Yeah,
all,
seeing
you know, or what?
the football field usually gets a lifespan of about 10 years.
Okay.
It's been 10.
Yeah, meaning like when we redid the
When we were in
football
the
field.
stadium.
Yeah.
Only because we got yelled at when we shoveled the snow. The
Not allowed to
band.
do that, not allowed to do that. All
That's
that
how-
rubber got, it's true, it's true.
But that's how I know it's been.
I know.
I have good pictures of that though.
Oh. But the baseball field, seeing that in the outfield, you get 3 outfielders. There's not a whole lot of play on that outfield turf. So we anticipate 15 years possibly.
That's what we're hopeful. Yeah. The warranty usually, the classic business axiom of under promise, over deliver. You know, they basically tell us 10 or 12, in Western PA with the weather we get, being exposed to all the elements all year round. And the expectation is 15 years.
With the location of where we're at, Monroeville, access turnpike 2248, we anticipate a lot of requests to use our facilities. So it's truly an opportunity to not only utilize the rental fees, but also a conversation we're going to have with the refreshment stand as well. Dawn, do you want to just highlight the?
Yeah, so what I've just done is in Google Sheets is I've shared with everybody in the room here the draft of 707 with the schedule of rates. So in the back of the packet you have in front of you, it reads fee schedule for facility rentals. I've shared with you this document, which is highlighted in orange where we would be making a change. We also just moved some things from different spots with the middle school that made more sense. We used to have in a separate thing for field. Basically, the differences would be, if you look at what's in front of you, we did not have a turf, football, and soccer field at the middle school, and we will now. We also didn't have a new track, and we will now. So we've added those as additional fees. So basically, the field rental will be the same as the stadium field rental, which will be $300 per hour, basically. And they don't have lights there. The track would be $100 per hour. And that's consistent. And I guess I should backtrack. We surveyed everyone in the WIPI, all the athletic directors, and in a Google Drive folder, I have about 16 schools that are similar to us that share their facilities fees. So we are clearly in line with what people are asking for and getting. for, for the groups. Just a quick reminder of what, I'm sorry.
As of this, update or competitor as of this coming 2023, 24.
Correct,
Okay.
current deal. And what I should remind you of is, the columns there, the first column would be, and it's defined in the policy, is gateway. So the easiest, simplest way to say it would be, if we're talking about a soccer match in the stadium, it would be Gateway's girls soccer team playing in the game. They're no charge, clearly. The next one is a community group that has at least 75% Monroeville residents. Using the soccer theme to continue, I'd say that'd be like Monroeville Soccer Club. They're a Monroeville group, they would not be paying. But if the Riverhounds decided to have an exhibition here, or another soccer tournament wanted to come in and rent the stadium field for a soccer game, they would pay that column 3 rate, if that makes sense to everybody. So there's a lot of no charges on there because, again, they're gateway groups or Monroeville groups. The third column is for outside groups. And that, again, is consistent with what everybody else does. That's how they break it down. So we're looking at now at the middle school having a turf field and a new track. The auxiliary gym is going to be really nice in the new building, so we're going to make it match what we charge for the auxiliary gym at the high school. The cafeteria, again, can be rented at that rate. That's a slight change from 100 to 125. And a classroom, we change from 25 to 50, again, because it's going to be a brand new facility. And, we put a lot of money and effort into that beautiful new building. So basically, those are the changes at the middle school. If we would scroll down. Sure.
Yeah, scroll down a little bit, Micah.
I'm sorry, Michael, if you could scroll down some. In the stadium, again, we used to say, if you look at that's good. What's in front of you, we used to say, but we would not rent the stadium out at all. But we decided that it makes sense to be consistent. We do have lights in the stadium. So again, it's $300 per hour for an outside group to rent it. It's $350 an hour if we're going to put lights on for them for an evening event.
Oh, that's what I was just going to ask. I couldn't see it over there. So that's a rate per hour.
Per hour,
Because I
yes.
wondered, you were just saying it as a flat rate, but okay, I can kind of see that hour over there. Okay.
And then the track only, $100 per hour, or $100, $150 if we're going to turn the lights on for you. And we still have the ability, let's say it's Relay for Life, and it's a Monroeville-based group that's running it. It fits into category 2, so we're not charging them money for a charity raising event. We can still get there from here. And then the last thing we changed would be, if you continue to scroll down, Maiko.
Wait, can I ask a question
Please.
here? The concession stands, I see that they're not available, and
For just outside groups.
why? And being a band parent doing the concession stand, I understand why, but what, if things are locked, what would prevent people from just using it without using the?
We could probably cut a deal where they could use the outside, to serve packaged food or whatever they want. But we're talking about,
The full 9
yeah,
yards.
and in the stadium, we're talking about kitchen, rated pro. I'm trying to think of quality.
Yeah, it's high-end
restaurant
equipment,
quality
yeah.
gear that we don't want to be utilized by some outside group. We could always have that discussion. If somebody thinks we want to open up concessions for outside groups, we could, but we have not in the past.
Okay.
And related to that conversation would be the concession stand up at the baseball and softball fields. Knowing that there will be tournaments coming in over the weekends, during the summer, almost every weekend, could we take advantage of that and
Baseball
operate?
boosters, for instance.
Yes.
Take it for the.
Keep that in-house instead of having the outside group coming in to rent it and truly make 10 to 15,000 on a weekend.
And that's the other side of this coin. If it says it's not available, it doesn't mean it won't be open.
Mhm.
If there's a Monroeville hosted, let's say the Riverhounds had a match, we would say, but our girls soccer boosters are going to run the concession stand. during your match. So we're still getting a benefit of them renting our facility and gaining some revenue
Plus,
that
it
way
would be our people who are familiar
with that,
with the
equipment
operation
already.
and the equipment inside.
And that does happen.
Yeah.
When I traveled with Riverhounds, wherever those tournaments were literally across 15 parks and schools at some
Yeah.
points.
And where they sell a bottle of water for $2, $3. I mean, it's,
Yeah, so basically,
Yeah,
we're
you're
just,
right.
we're just saying any concessions will not be available to the outside group. It's gonna be run by our group if we wanna do it in baseball, softball, or in the stadium.
and that does put a little bit of pressure upon us internally to ensure that okay, whatever group takes advantage of it, and Donna would have to communicate with that group whether or not it's baseball, football. Now, truly, should that money be deposited and earmarked for future renovations or projects?
That's what I wondered, where, things like.
Instead of going
Where is
to-
it earmarked now?
Them.
Right now, it goes to the boosters.
Typically,
And I'm just talking about the baseball and softball field.
So that's a whole other conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now during a game.
It's our baseball, yeah.
The boosters
Yeah,
handle
it's
it.
there.
And
But
again,
I'm saying like an outside AAU tournament.
right, so, and then we can talk further about the revenue, where it goes, but the first part is the revenue will be being collected by one of our groups, not an outside group.
Yeah.
And then if we want to put it toward facilities renovations in the future, or stay with what we do for their own event, and the booster group keeps it, and that's their incentive to do it, and it's benefiting our student athletes indirectly, then that's also an option. But we could do it first, I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. But if somebody comes in to rent the track for a few hours for a meet, there's nothing stopping them from grabbing a cola or water and some chips and selling it for.
No, and that's not a true concern. I mean, we could go hard line and say you can't sell anything.
No, I didn't want to do
but-
that. I wanted to.
Right.
As long as they're respecting the property and the
Okay.
Gatorade or teas not spilling over on the rubber track and causing stains and.
Okay. Going back to one other thing now, so those fees, what fund do those fees go into, rental fees?
They go into a general fund right now. Really, Mike controls that, and it just goes into the general fund balance.
Okay.
The closest example I can give, Susan, is when we host, let's say, a Whippeal playoff volleyball match. We have a custodial fee. As a courtesy to the Whippeal, we don't charge a rental fee, but we charge a custodial fee. We charge a school police fee. There are people that work that get paid by the Whippeal, but those fees go to Gateway School District.
You
And they go
didn't
to
reflect that up there on anything, did you?
Well, it's not, it isn't, it may be listed in the verbiage that
Yes,
precedes,
it's another page to this that would.
that say where the money goes for rental.
And another conversation we'd have to have down the road is supervision of those fields. Is it worth our while to have someone as like a site manager during one of these tournaments over the weekend to ensure?
I think
And
that was in here.
It is in the verbiage that,
Yeah.
we can request at our,
I think it's a good idea.
at our
Minimum.
behest, we
Yeah.
can say, you have to have our site manager
Yes.
there. to
Minimum
use our
of
baseball
3
field.
hours or something, I think it.
Right,
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, here, it's here, site manager.
yep,
It just
$45 an hour.
Protects the investment of the taxpayers and everyone
And
involved.
you would have to show that as far as hiring or something or whatever, or is that in-house?
Yeah.
We have event worker pay that you approve each year for all the different events, whether it be an usher, a ticket taker, the announcer, the scoreboard operator, whatever we use. This would be similar. The site manager is one of those positions that would extend, and we would probably use the same site manager with you, like a Matt Stalkunas is one that does some things in that regard. So basically, we would, and I do it, I can't receive money for it, but for different events, I'm the site manager. Depending on the event, we would have an experienced site manager who knows Gateway and has keys to everything and the ability to turn lights on and off and all those kind of things.
An example of
Supervise.
one of the things that we did up at the fields, and Dawn's familiar with this, that, to avoid those trucks from maybe going behind the sports complex, like a pickup truck, and has in the back bats, water coolers, their own equipment, and then they decide they're going to just drive up onto our fields and go over to the dugout areas with a truck on the field and drop everything off and turn around and drive back. We don't want that to happen now with the artificial turf. We want a secure area.
And you've seen me ride around at some point probably on the golf cart on campus. That's essentially the path we have between the fields will fit, a cart or basically that type vehicle. So if we have a site manager, that person will have the golf cart and they will transport your water coolers, will transport your equipment, anything that's heavy to carry that your kids aren't carrying. We'll have somebody on site to do, or elderly people that maybe can't make the walk. We've done that as well.
Just trust me, if no one is on site,
Oh, I know.
anything
You get what you
goes.
get.
Anything goes.
Yeah,
Well,
you get what you get.
I know
That's
you're focusing on, the new and improve and the stuff that we're doing, but this policy, it's almost 5 years old. Should we overlook what the custodial fees are and the police fees because those have increased over the last 5 years? Is that?
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely.
Everything's in
yeah.
play. I mean, that's kind of the idea of
Absolutely.
the policy review. It's a good point. We didn't change it for this meeting, but because of what you said, the focus being on the new things and those changes. But that's a good point.
You've got to look at the cafeteria staff, everything. It's,
Yeah.
We did make some adjustments to cafeteria, some areas at middle school.
In middle school,
Yeah.
since it again, it'll be a new facility.
Yeah, I think.
Classrooms as well over at Gateway Middle School. Seeing that they're new classrooms, the rental fee we moved up as well.
I'm sorry.
One suggestion I have in terms of fees, just to simplify, make it in increments of $50. So, so make it minimum of 50, and then all increases in increments of 50. So I think it will be much easier to people to understand it and to start to remember it.
So for example, Mendel, you say the main gym is 175, so in increments of 50, we should either have it 150 or 200, right?
Yes. Or for example, some fees you have $25. I think I make it 50 or make it free. It depends on. I would make it 50.
Increments of
Because making $25 for any facility, I don't think you gain enough for just calculation.
One thing that's in play is, remember, we individually negotiate all of these groups. So, and again, it's only outside groups. And if an outside group, like for instance, we just received a request from an adult baseball league for 12 to 15 home games and wanted to know dimensions of our field. Do we have lights? Is it available at certain dates? We would talk to them. It's like we're in this meeting now. I would communicate with them. Here's the fee structure to rent the baseball field. Here's the specifics of if you use the lights, and provide them everything that they want to know, along with dates that the field is available. And then when we pass that on, to Dr. Short and say, okay, are we comfortable with this, rental? And the facilities manager as well. And if everybody's on board, that's how we would go about an outside group using it. So as far as maybe, certainly we can be consistent with maybe not $25 increments, but at the end of the day, each group is going to get read in on their exact numbers and will not have to necessarily memorize. They'll be essentially, here's the rate for you and here's why. We won't have to necessarily, the baseball guy doesn't really need to know how much it is to cost to rent the stadium or the classroom.
On that thought, we have the baseball and softball field hourly rate
That's down
proposed.
below a little farther.
Should we examine not only the hourly rate for, say, if they wanted to utilize the field for one game, but if there was a multiple games through the course of the day, can we then break it out into a category that says, okay, for 2 games, the fee would be this, 4 games, this.
We've done it in the past when it was
Give them a
less.
break, you mean?
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you would.
You would, but also, the hourly rate, the first game could be done, say, in an hour. The next game, another hour. They could squeeze in 4 or 5, 6 games, but perhaps we just break it out by.
We've
Games
actually,
instead of
we've done it to sort of benefit a group instead of saying, we're gonna put a timer on it. We're gonna say, look, you can play 3 games, and we'll assume that it's gonna be an hour and a half or 2 hours for each game, and charge you for 5 hours, something like that, and say that's the average. And if you go 6 hours or 7 hours because you win extra innings with each game, so be it. We'll charge you for a flat rate for your.
Is that in
your
writing
day.
anywhere, or is that negotiable?
Well, we didn't really, it was a much lesser number before. We were talking about $25 an hour. So we might say it's $100 for the whole day.
Okay.
So we might want to do something like say, exactly that, put it in here. We can negotiate for, tournament days or, maximum fee for the day.
Yeah, I think you have to have it in writing.
I will tell you, there are some other districts who have a per hour for the stadium with a maximum of $1,000 a day. So let's say it's $300 for the stadium, but you have a band competition that's gonna last all day. We cap it at 5 hours at $1,500, or we cap it.
We do that too.
We can do that.
And also, part of the fee structure should have, the potential for vandalism where they have to submit, say, $300-400 up front, they'll get that back.
So like a deposit.
Yes,
Right.
if we see that,
Refundable
everything
deposit.
looks the way it is when they walk on the field.
We don't have a deposit now.
To my knowledge, no.
We have a discussion about the rules of using our fields and our facilities, but I don't think we've definitely done a deposit.
You're
I like
talking
it.
about brand new property.
Yeah, I mean, those fields are, there's nothing like it up there, so, I mean, it's.
You know,
I like it for sure.
Yeah, you can ATV through mines in Pennsylvania, but you have to give them $1,000 deposit to hold while you use their ATV. It's only $300 an hour, but they want $1,000 for the ATV.
So Don, I think Susan's on to something here. We need to,
Deposit.
we're suggesting thinking through some of the other nuances. For example, if we get the left-handed beekeepers there and, it's going to be 5 hours of, daylight and then 3 hours of lights on. So all that has to be sort of, it could be hazy and you want to turn the lights on anyway for safety. I mean, just.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think if we circle back to that, we are still negotiating these things case by case with, myself involved.
Yeah, Dawn's gonna be really examining who is renting the field, what organization, getting with Bob or Dave and just kind of determining if this is representing what we want up there.
And if it's not a gotcha,
we don't want like
cash grab. We're not trying to say, we turned the lights on because it was hazy, so you owe us some more. We'll be reasonable about it and say, look, we'll do you a favor and turn the lights on, and we'll keep it at the other rate because the weather didn't cooperate or
Because
something.
we want folks to be able to come back and use it again.
It's all people dealing with people, and again, just
Yeah, well, you
because.
want to be
Yeah,
profitable.
just because the road is different doesn't mean
You
we're
don't want the
gonna
kegs of beer out
gouge
there.
them, we're gonna say,
Are there cameras?
Yes,
Yeah,
We-
because when you talk of vandalism and talk about other things, are there cameras?
before the field and the stone and, aeration drainage. Miko and the crew wired it for cameras, so.
All right, so we have 10 minutes left in this meeting. Is there anything else we need to discuss about 707? When will it be voted on?
We're going to put a draft together and we're going to have it to the board on what's the study session? 14th.
So, so you're gonna discuss the deposit, you're gonna discuss the
Yep.
increments and possibly looking at all the prices.
Absolutely, yeah, so we'll have a clean 707 updated with the date that we submitted to the board for 30-day review. We'll probably do it as an action item, that way it can go on for 30-day review, and then it could be passed at the March meeting.
All right, so let's
So
assume
we're ready to
that
go.
someone out in the viewing audience has some questions or issues or suggestions. Who might they route those suggestions or questions to? Should it be the main office or should it be Dawn?
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that.
He was suggesting, who's, I would say always my pat answer for that is John Ritter. I'm kidding. I think routing it through my office makes sense. And I'll, collaborate with the maintenance facilities.
Yeah, if Don feels if there's an issue or question, he'll just go right to facilities maintenance.
Or an imaginative use of the facilities. I mean, we're open for suggestions on how to best use.
We're really just talking about, we're taking care of our gateway groups first, priority, then community groups that are 75% Monroeville or Pitcairn Gateway District people, and then outside groups. And whatever they want to rent it for, as long as it has no, purpose that is, very off the moral path or something that we don't want to support. Anybody that's got a legitimate purpose to use a field that isn't going to hurt our facilities that want, and again, most of the time it's baseball and soccer tournaments or band things or, walks or track meets with different groups. It's things that are sports related. But we don't have a problem with them using the stadium for something else, but we get a right of refusal if it's something that we don't feel is appropriate for a school district as well.
Very good. We're about ready to move off this topic.
If I could bring up one more piece of this, understanding the Monroeville community baseball, I'm sure they would want to utilize these fields as well. I'm not sure to what degree or how often. That's something we need to at least put in the back of our minds as well as about the amount of use.
And possibly looking at a lot of the people in category B, if they're going to use the new facilities, asking for deposits. And if it's long going, then we can just hold it for, let's say they run it for whatever the 4 months period is. They don't have to do it every.
We do have a great relationship with Monroeville, and we use them. They helped us out an awful lot last spring when we were, getting the lights in and the weather wasn't good, and we used a number of, Monroeville Park, East and West, for both baseball and softball and middle school baseball. So at the end of the day, that again, they're category B people, but I agree, we've got some rules about it, and we need to make sure that we.
And I think overall, when you look at our facilities, when it's finished, truly second to none. And I'm talking not only the athletic, but extracurricular, fine arts, everything associated with it. So
Do we advertise that we rent in certain sources or just?
It's on our website, yeah.
Okay.
All right, Michael, I'm going to come to you in a second and ask if you have any input. Dr. Singh, do you have any final input?
I was wondering if senior citizens of any sort rent it, if they will get a discount.
Well, I think the first question is still, again, I don't want to be negative about senior citizens from Penn Hills or from anywhere else, but if they're Monroeville residents, they fall under the same no charge situation. Okay. If it's an outside group of senior citizens, we would have a discussion. We could certainly put a caveat in there. And I think the fair caveat to put in there under an asterisk is, or in the verbiage of the policy is, we still have the ability to negotiate this deal with the board's approval for anybody. So let's say it's an outside group of senior citizens and we normally would charge them a certain number of dollars. We could say, with the board's approval, we would waive the fee and allow the outside group, because they're a senior group, to use it. That's always in play, but again, it wouldn't be done, willy-nilly or happenstance. It would be done, with every full disclosure to the administration and the board. Hey, we feel like we need to cut this group, this group a good deal. So yes.
Dr. Singh, also a unique feature that will be part of the field up at the sports complex area is a walking path that circumvates the field and also into the baseball fields as well. So there's activity for senior citizens to go up during a baseball game to walk around.
Very good. Okay, so Michael, I'm going to come to you and ask the question, is there any words of wisdom you have to us on the technology side of things, keeping the security cameras running, keeping the electricity on, communications, email blasts, anything from your side that you want us to consider here as we design this new fee schedule?
At the moment, no, but I would say it would be important for anyone who's requesting our facilities to go through our online process, just for the reason you mentioned about communication. I know several times when we had to cancel events, if people don't fill in contact information, it's hard to get in touch with them.
And let them know that the event has now been canceled.
Well, either maybe there's something wrong with the facility, or because we're closing school due to a snow delay or cancellation, we have to push back the events. So I know Bob has had trouble reaching out to some of those people sometimes.
Very good. And so I'm going to ask Susan a question. She brought up the issue of advertisement. I like that. Does the school district have the ability to have some of our events that we're going to have here on behalf of the communities advertised for free in the local newspapers?
Times Express.
Yeah, for free. In other words, if it's going to be held at Gateway, should we be charged to announce that in the local community? I think we shouldn't. It should be a service so that everyone knows there's an event here. They might be interested in bringing their kids.
I think we leverage the relationship we have with the reporter from like we had Mike Love today at the bocce match. I think we leverage that relationship as needed and say, could you, do us, we're always, working with you and always, helping you out with any student athlete stories or school stories. Could we ask you to, maybe do a story on this and publicize it
That
for us?
helps the newspaper get more eyes on it as people look to see whether
Right. And
schools are
also,
open for certain
both
programs.
venues, baseball and softball, have the huddle vision, where it's artificial intelligence, where you'll be able to stream and watch the game at any point. So,
All right, we're going to exit in about 3 minutes. So when can our next meeting be? When should we have the next meeting of the policy committee?
well, I would like to break open the policies comprehensive review. So if you're able to get that information from the colleagues on the board here, we can get together and match up a principal, and then we can come back in February.
All right,
start
so
this
in
process.
about a week, I will have assigned all of the board members some sweet spot, some subtopic. And then I'll report that to you, Dr. Short, and then we can begin to arrange using our schedule a meeting that will tackle the next few items on our list. They don't have to necessarily be in order. No. Be in order of importance. So I think that's all I have. Anybody have anything else?
So we will have the updated fee schedule for our 2/14 meeting.
Yep.
Okay.
Very good. Looking for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Thank you. Thank you, Micah.
Thank you, Micah.
Micah.